Hello and welcome to my channel, and if you have already been to my channel, then welcome back. My name is Kalina and I'm an expert in public relations and mass communications, and in this video we're going to talk about empathy and the situation when people mistake projections for empathy. Because a lot of times people misunderstand what empathy truly is, and they feel their own projections on somebody the way they should feel as true empathy, but it is not. So let's first clarify what is empathy. Empathy is when you feel what the other person feels. It is not something that you would feel if you were on their place. It is actually understanding their experience, but not only on logical level, on a level that you actually feel it yourself. And I can give you an example, and this is something that is kind of personal that I will share, because it is a little weird, but it has happened to me many times. I was once in the metro, and I was traveling. I had to get off on the last stop, and there was this lady right in front of me, and she was with this I would see in her face that she was about to cry, but still she was holding her cry. She was actually holding her tears, maybe because she was on a public place, and this is somebody that I don't know, and I'm right in front of her. And at this moment, I felt this kind of a flow that goes under the floor of the metro that connects me somehow to her on energetic level. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm sharing it in order to really get you to understand my point. And maybe some of you has felt certain thing like that. And at this moment, I actually started experiencing this kind of feeling like you're going to cry. So I literally started experiencing in my face that I'm going to cry, but I'm also holding my tears. So I literally started somehow experiencing from this lady's perspective. Okay? And I didn't really acknowledge at the moment that I was experiencing this until the metro actually stopped. And you know how you shake a little when the metro stops, and I got out of this condition. And at this moment I thought to myself, I literally experienced the pure feeling of empathy. Because a lot of people start from the situation or the event that made somebody feel a certain way. So they start logically from this event. The event was this, and if I was through this event, I would feel like that. This event is bad, so this person must feel in such and such way. And it is assumption, it is very often based on your own experience, and it is empathy that is based on logic, okay? But in this situation, I didn't know the lady. So I had no idea what is the actual event. I didn't know the obstacles. I didn't know what actually has happened to her so that she's going to cry. Maybe she has gotten through some horrible situation or something unpleasant, or I can only assume what has gotten her to this point that she is going to cry in the metro, but I somehow experienced what she was experiencing. And I think it is connected to energies and somehow on energetic level. So for me, this is true empathy. When you actually experience, not only logically, not only I assume, not only I would feel like that, and definitely not like a projection, like this person should feel like that. It is when you actually recognize and when you experience it on yourself, that person's actual experience on feeling level, right? And this is, for me, this is empathy. So when you feel empathy on that high level, very often you need boundaries. So throughout my life, I have needed a lot of boundaries because I needed to understand and recognize which emotions are mine and which emotions are somebody else's, right? So I was open for a lot of projections, and I was open also for a lot of breaking my boundaries, because I would literally neglect my own perspective and my own experience in favor of somebody else's. And this somebody else is very often they wouldn't really have the best intentions. Okay, so this is a topic for a whole different video. Maybe I will do that video in the future, that if you feel empathy on a higher level, then you need a lot of boundaries. Okay, but now I'm gonna talk about the projection. And what a lot of people recognize as empathy is truly their own projection. And very often it is not even well-intended empathy, because it is not empathy in the first place, but this is a projection. Like, let's say they would bring somebody to certain experience that it's already in the past, and they will try to simulate empathy, like acting. Let's say, oh, you must have felt so bad when that happened, you know? But then the person may be at a point of life that they have already overcome this. Maybe they have grown through this experience and they are on a whole different level now. Or let's say, I can give you an example. Let's say somebody has lost their job, and the moment that they lost their job, they felt relief, because they didn't want to necessarily lose their job. They didn't plan to quit or anything like that, but they were miserable at this job. And this job was something that, they should have probably quit, but they didn't realize it. Maybe they were at a state of mind that they wouldn't realize that they can actually quit a job and find another one if they dislike it, okay? So that person is miserable at their job and they get fired. And they feel this relief and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm actually happy. I'm actually happy for getting fired. That's exactly what should have happened. And I suddenly realized it, because the universe got me the obstacles to not be at this miserable job. And now I can find another one, right? That could be their feeling. But they could have a colleague who would come to them and be like, oh, I'm so sorry that you got fired. Oh, poor you. Do you think that this colleague feels true empathy? No, they don't. They're projecting. They're projecting their own emotions onto this person because they assume that that's what this person must feel, right? And this person is probably thinking like, oh, okay, maybe that's how I should feel. And now instead of feeling good that they are already free from this job that they didn't like in the first place, now they start feeling bad, because that person projects on them, And I have had many situations actually that happened to me once, exactly this thing with the job, because I had a job that we didn't really click with the employer, and I was taught, but I was already thinking that I should quit this job. And when that happened, I had this colleague that she's a very nice person and very caring, but that was her reaction. She was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you so much. Oh, poor you. Oh, and I'm like, and the thing is that because I already feel empathy, I started feeling empathy for her, and now I started feeling bad. But I didn't feel bad because of the job loss itself. I felt bad because I was feeling what this colleague was feeling for me. like I was actually feeling her projection. And I know that that's now very, very complicated. But my point is that some people project their own feelings on somebody else. And they call that empathy, but that is not true empathy. Or let's say when somebody broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and they have gotten through that sadness period, and now they're moving on, they're like, I'm free, I'm gonna take care of myself, and they're actually in a happy situation, actually happy. You know, because let's say after breakup, yes, there is a moment of sadness, but then you move on, right? And let's say some of their friends, maybe somebody from their peer group is like, oh, poor you, how are you after this breakup, you know, with this person, I heard you broke up, oh, you know. And of course this person is, they're already moved on. I mean, maybe they have had emotions from the breakup, but now they moved on. And this person, they're not actually feeling empathy, because this person doesn't feel like this now. You know, they have already gotten through this whole situation with the breakup, and they're recovering and they're doing fine, but this person has a projection that is not true empathy. It is empathy just in their head, because they think that they're doing a good thing by assuming how this person would feel and acknowledging it and recognizing it. And a lot of times, even in situations of business, I have heard that kind of advices. Tell that person you understand them. Sometimes you would say, I understand you, but the other person will know based on your actions, on your behavior, or what you're saying, that you understand, that you don't truly understand. So you're not feeling empathy, you're projecting, but you're also assuming. I listened to this video several months ago from this true crime channel. It was about a murderer who was one of those serial murderers who are murdering women. And the person who was explaining the case said something that one of the cases, that person and his male serial killer, this person seems to feel empathy for men, because they have made some statements that feel empathetic for men, but he kills women. And I'm thinking, this person doesn't feel true empathy, because they're a serial murderer. If they would feel true empathy, they wouldn't murder in the first place. But then if they have empathy for men and they're men, then that's their feeling, their experience of the world. They project on these other men their own experience of the world, you know? So they would say, okay, because they're men, they would say this other man must feel this way, right? So in a weird way, it seems like empathy, it looks like empathy from a side, but it is not true empathy. And I think this is something that a psychologist must kind of like review all of those cases, because they're a little more complicated. They're not for a video that is based on relationships, mainly with a business context, right? You actually need to truly feel empathy, even in terms of business or career or work, because that will really elevate your communication skills. And this is why I'm talking about empathy, because it is something truly important. So don't mistake empathy with projection, or more accurately, don't mistake projection with empathy. Don't just assume how a person would feel and make assumptions and project on them, because in a lot of ways that can even annoy somebody. You can say to somebody, I understand that you feel in such and such way, and they can say, no, I don't feel in such and such way. I actually truly want to resolve this situation and I want to know how to do so. You know, maybe it's not about something personal that they feel, it's about they truly want to resolve the situation professionally. And you're projecting, or you're trying, because I'm hearing a lot of advices of show empathy, show to this person empathy, be like, oh yeah, but very often people don't truly experience that. You're just projecting on them. And some people feel it like a manipulation. On a higher levels of business, there are people that when they experience a little bit of this, they would literally be walking away, like physically walking away. They cannot stand it because you're trying to project on them some kind of a victim mentality. And they're, let's say, in the situation that the communication is on a higher management level, right? So that misunderstood empathy can work against you. This is why I'm bringing it as a topic. So what to do if you don't feel empathy on that higher levels? Like you actually experience instantly what the other person experiences. And I'm not talking about people who don't feel empathy at all, because this is also a topic for psychologists, for actual professional psychologists. Because people who are not capable of empathy at all, they're with some kind of disorders. They're with some kind of mental or psychological disorders, some kind of personality disorders, right? Like narcissists, like psychopaths. So I'm not talking about those cases, and I would leave those cases for the actual professionals in the psychology field. But if you are a person who wants to be empathetic in the best possible way, who is capable of empathy, who actually cares about other people, not only about themselves, and wants to get into this state of being a little more empathetic, not only in order to help yourself with your business and with your career, but also to become better as a person, because I think that's the most important thing. Well, here is something that I can give you as advice that you can do instead of projecting. What you can do is ask questions. Instead of going to this person and being like, oh, I understand that you feel so bad, you have been through this and that thing. Instead of doing that, if you're close enough and if it is something that's appropriate topic, ask them, how do you feel? For example, let's say about this job loss situation. Instead of being like, oh, poor you lost your job, ask them, well, how do you feel now after you're not on this job anymore, you know? Of course, be tactful, and the person can surprise you. They can tell, well, I actually feel a relief. I actually shouldn't have been on this job in the first place. This is the wrong job for me. So it's kind of a good thing that I'm not on that job anymore, right? So they may actually surprise you, and they will feel even better because you show true care about them and true desire to understand them. And that person, let's say that they broke up with somebody, let's say with their boyfriend or their girlfriend or their fiance, or maybe they got through divorce. So you need to evaluate first if you're close enough to talk on that personal topics, and second, don't assume. Ask them and give them the space to share. Ask them, hey, how are you after that, if you want to talk about it? Are you ready to talk about it? Are you willing to talk about it? How are you? How are you doing? I truly want to know, and show genuine interest as a friend. You know, again, if you are close enough. If you're not, probably it's not a good idea to bring personal topics up, right? But if you're close enough, ask questions, be tactful, and show genuine care and interest. Not just to be nosy, not just to be like, oh, poor you, and then maybe you convince yourself that you feel true empathy when you're actually projecting. But ask genuine questions. So if you cannot truly pick up on how the person feels on this energetic level, then start asking questions and ask them, hey, how do you feel? What do you experience? What are your concerns? If it is about business, you can ask, what are your concerns? So you don't say, oh, I understand. Instead of this, that you can annoy the person, that they can say, no, you don't understand at all. Just leave me alone, right? You can ask, what are your concerns? You're willing to understand, you're trying to understand. And then when they give you some information about how they truly feel, then you can do some recap. Oh, so from what you're saying, your experience, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I understand now, you know? But after you really understand, not by projecting and not by assumptions. Okay, so that would be true empathy. And I have an opinion, and I don't know if you will agree with me. You can write down in the comments what you think about this matter, but I think that empathy, if it is not felt, if it is not truly felt, it is not true empathy. You cannot have empathy that's based on logic. You need the actual emotion empathy. I have even heard the term practice empathy. Let's practice empathy. You cannot practice empathy. You have to feel empathy. And if you don't truly feel empathy, you're trying to only practice it, the other side will feel it. The other side will recognize it on subconscious level, and they wouldn't really feel nice about it. So try to experience actual empathy. Not just practice empathy, not just logically to be empathetic, and not projecting on people. Okay, so let me know what you think down in the comments. Maybe you have your own experiences, maybe you have another opinion about empathy. Have you experienced empathy on that higher levels? Has it been a problem from you? How do you put your boundaries? I'm very interested to understand those things. Thank you very much for watching, and you can also like and share this video, and you can subscribe for my channel. Also, I will leave a link below to my website so that you can see a little more about me, who I am, and what I'm doing. Thank you very much and have a great day.